On an island in the vast ocean, the young adventurer Moana races to the top of the mountain with her pet pig, Pua. 3 years have passed since her adventure with Maui to save the goddess of nature, Taifiti, and now she explores other islands in search of new villages. However, Pua can't keep up with the speed of his owner, who soon straps him to her back and sets off to climb the mountain. When they reach the top, the young girl meets her other pet, the rooster, Hehe, and has no idea how he got there before. Even so, she leaves a little shell on top of the mountain in hopes to meet more people from the ocean, just like her. After this adventure, it's time to go home, but the edge of the mountain starts to come loose, right underneath where Pua was sitting. Moana runs to catch her friend, but Hehe jumps on her, and the three of them start to fall down the mountain. Luckily, Moana is caught by several vines and lands safely on the ground, but she soon sees Hehe with what looks like a piece of pot on his head.
When she looks more closely, she sees a drawing of mountains below a constellation on the vase and believes it to be an indication that there are other peoples. So the three of them return to their boat and set off with the help of the ocean to their village on the island of Motunui. There, Moana has become the new chief thanks to her great deeds, which are told by everyone in the village. Meanwhile, the islanders see the young woman approaching on the horizon and gather to welcome her and see what she has discovered on her adventures. As well as bringing food to the villagers, Moana shows the discovery of the pot to her father, Te. The conversation, however, is interrupted by Simia, her younger sister, who is delighted to see her again. The girl asks if Moana has brought her a present, but instead she takes her to the cave where she discovers the origins of her people. In the past, the inhabitants of Motunui were once great navigators, with the greatest of them being their ancestor called Tata-Vesa. The navigator wanted to bring together all the peoples of the ocean, and now it's up to Moana to continue this dream. Simia, however, asks if Moana couldn't help her sister on this mission, but she says that since their adventure together, the demigod has been traveling the world alone. At that very moment, Moana flies across the seas in the form of a hawk and lands on an island shrouded in clouds. There, he asks for the portal to a mysterious island to be opened, but the entity that inhabits the place refuses, in obedience to the orders of a god called Nalo. The same entity also says that if Maui insists, Moana will also be punished. The demigod will not allow anything bad to happen to his friend, and with his magic hook, he sets out to confront the entity, but ends up being defeated. Meanwhile, in Motunui, Tue has organized a party to welcome Moana and intends to give her the title of the island's new navigator. The young girl accepts the honor with great joy, and her father gathers everyone in a hut to begin the ritual. At the end, Tue gives Moana a liquid to drink as part of the ritual, but suddenly, a powerful bolt of lightning streaks across the sky and hits the girl. The burst of energy seems to take her to a boat, where she meets none other than her ancestor, Tadaveza. The young woman is experiencing a memory from the past and realizes that the sails of the boat have the same design as the base. In addition, her ancestor is heading for an island that lies beneath a cluster of stars called Motafitu. However, during the voyage, a strong storm, surrounded by a monstrous face, causes the boat to capsize. Moana falls into a sea surrounded by stars, and a gigantic whale appears before her, covered in luminous tattoos. This enormous being takes her back to her island, but the place is completely uninhabited. Finally, the whale takes the form of the spirit of Tadaveza, and he warns Moana that she must find the island of Motafitu, or all the people of the ocean will perish. Moana, however, doesn't know how to get there, but her ancestor tells her that a fire in the sky will guide her on the right path. After that, Moana wakes up back at the hut and tells her parents about the dream she had in her encounter with Tadaveza. She then goes to look up the island in the archives and discovers that Motafitu was a place where the leaders of the ocean peoples used to meet. However, a powerful god called Nalu used his magic to separate the oceans and hid the island in the sea. Upon hearing this, Tue recommends holding a council meeting to decide what to do, but soon everyone's attention turns to a shooting star in the sky. No one has seen anything like it before. But Moana deduces that it is the sign of fire that her ancestor warned her about. Now, as the island's new navigator, Moana is forced to find Motofitu and reunite the people of the ocean once again. However, this journey will be dangerous and she may not return, something that makes Simia angry, as she doesn't want to be separated from her sister again. Despite this, Moana accepts her responsibility and prepares for the long journey. Initially, she was only going to take her faithful companions, Pua and Hihi, but her mother tells her that more people and a bigger boat are needed on this mission. Moana agrees and soon invites her friend and artisan, Lotto, to come along on the trip and create a new boat. In addition to her, the island's farmer, Kelly, is also summoned for the trip, and although he doesn't feel like it, he accepts an order to guarantee food for the crew. And finally, Moni, a painter and obsessed fan of Maui, also agrees to go, as this could be the chance to meet his idol. With the team assembled, Moana gathers the last of her belongings, but when she was about to take a basket, she felt it was too heavy and found Simia hiding inside. Her younger sister insists on going along, as she is afraid of what might happen to Moana. Her older sister won't allow it, but to console her, she takes her to the edge of the beach and shows her connection with the ocean. In front of Simia, the sea moves aside to allow them to pass, and the water even caresses the girl. Finally, Moana says there's nothing to worry about because the ocean will protect her. So Simia gives her a starfish so her sister won't forget her. Moana accepts the gift and treasures it in her necklace. The next morning, it's time to leave, and the navigator says goodbye to her family and sets off across the sea, guided by the shooting star. On the high seas, the voyage goes smoothly, but Moana notices that the group isn't getting along very well. While Loto tries to make risky improvements to the ship, Moana only cares about his paintings, and Kelly doesn't like to see it all. Nevertheless, Moana convinces everyone that the ocean is on their side and will protect them from any danger. The group is convinced, and they try to have fun throughout the trip, but the relaxed atmosphere soon changes when the group sees an explosion in the sky. At the same time, the ocean current begins to act strangely, making the boat spin in circles. Moana doesn't understand what the ocean is doing until suddenly a huge ship appears out of the mist. Inside are the people of Kakamora, tiny pirates who wear coconuts as armor. They seem to be on the run from something, and as Moana looks further ahead, she finds a gigantic shellfish, which appears to be a living island. The monster wants to devour everyone, so the young woman ties her boat to the Kakamora ship to get away as soon as possible. However, the pirates start firing darts in her direction, and despite Moana's ability to block the shots with her oar, she ends up being hit. Her companions are also hit by the darts, which contain a toxin that leaves them paralyzed. The pirates soon capture everyone and intend to take them hostage, but as soon as they see Motufidu's drawing on the boat's sails, the pirates soon change their minds. They treat Moana like a heroine and, using their coconuts, they show images as if they were historical paintings. Moana, who has experience in deciphering images, translates that the Kakamora's homeland is near Motufidu. However, when Nalo divided the oceans, the pirates' ancestors were also separated, and they are trying to return to their home. But in order to do so, they need to get past a giant mollusk, which will devour anyone who dares to cross its path. Upon hearing the whole story, Moana agrees to help them, but they are still paralyzed by the toxin from the darts. To cure them, the Kakamora summon a creature that appears to be a huge jelly. It runs over Moana and her companions in the liquid that spread serves as an antidote, returning everyone to normal. Lotto then suggests that, to defeat the mollusk, they could use the same toxin as the darts and weaken the monster. The Kakamora agree and soon add the toxin, which comes from inside the slimy creature's nose. With everything ready, the Kakamora give Moana a spear with a toxin-covered tip so that she can stop the mollusk. After this, the young sailor and her friends begin to approach the huge mouth of the mollusk and look for a weak point. Without much difficulty, Moana finds it, but just as she was about to inject the toxin, the boat loses control and she drops the spear into the water. Fortunately, one of the Kakamora warriors, Katu, jumps onto Moana's boat and fires a spear at the weak point, causing the mollusk to weaken. However, it begins to sink into the water and the boat is pulled tightly into the creature. Even though they try to resist, the group is pulled inside the mollusk, and in the fall, Moana ends up separated from her friends. They are taken to the interior of the creature, filled with the remains of boats and other sea creatures. Just then, Moana, Kelly, Lotto, Hihi, and Pua come across another sea monster inside the mollusk, about to attack them. To its misfortune, the warrior Kakamora fires a toxin dart, causing the creature to shrivel up completely and pour out a strange liquid. This liquid is actually a powerful acid, which creates a hole in the ground and sends the group tumbling into the deepest part of the mollusk. To everyone's surprise, that's where Maui is trapped, and when he finds his idol, Moana can't contain his excitement. The group helps the demigod to free himself, but as soon as he recovers his magic hook, Maui decides to flee as soon as possible. But before he goes, the demigod finds Hihi and, knowing that he is Moana's pet, asks where the girl is. The young girl ends up in another part of the clam, and mysteriously, she sees Simio on her lap. However, Moana soon realizes that it's a nightmare and that the person next to her is a bat, which follows the same entity that trapped Maui inside the clam. This entity finally reveals itself in the form of a woman called Meitangi. Moana arms herself with her ore to confront her, but the sorceress says she has come to help her find Motufadu. She reveals that she has lived inside the mollusk for millennia and has been forced to protect the place under the orders of the god Nalo. That's why she wants to help Moana get to the island and forward his plans. But to do so, the young sailor will have to put aside what she knows and act on instinct. In other words, Meitangi tells her that in order to find Motufadu, Moana must take risks and get lost along the way, without following directions. Despite finding the advice strange, the young girl decides to accept it, and then Meitangi takes her to a cliff, where she has to literally throw herself off in order to find the way. Moana obeys and ends up at the portal that leads to Motufadu. Soon afterwards, Maui and the rest of the group also arrive at the place, and the demigod is very happy to meet his young friend again. However, Maui soon points his magic hook in Meitangi's direction and plans to take revenge on her for leaving him stranded. But Moana soon stops the fight when she sees inscriptions on the floor, indicating the way to Motufadu. The young woman then recites the spell to open the portal, and suddenly a huge whirlpool forms on the ground. Maui and the team are sucked into it, along with the boat, while Moana calls Meitangi to accompany them. However, due to Nalu's spell, the sorceress can't leave the cave, so she just wishes her luck and hopes that the two of them can meet one day. Moana accepts and jumps into the whirlpool, ending up in a portal known only to the gods. There, she meets her friends again and takes the opportunity to hug Maui and tell him all the news. However, the demigod has bad news and warns them that there is no way they can reach Motufadu, as Nalu has hidden the island in the depths of the sea. Because of this, neither Moana nor her friends would survive if they tried to reach the place, and only Maui would have enough power to get there. Despite this, they reach the end of the portal and return to the sea, where Moana sees a cluster of stars above Motufadu Island. Moana then tells Maui that her ancestor, Tadaveza, has entrusted her with the mission of uniting the peoples of the ocean. So, even though the island is underwater, the group has come together for a reason, and she has faith that they will find a solution. Maui agrees, and Moana asks for the ocean's help to guide them to the island, but for the first time, she gets no response. The demigod warns her that the sea they're in will not help them, as it is dominated by Nalu. Proof of this comes in the form of a gigantic sea serpent, which the god has sent to eliminate the invaders. The monster sets out to attack them, but Kodu fires a dart at it, leaving it unresponsive. However, the toxin doesn't work on the creature, which throws the dart back, and starts crashing into the boat to capsize it. Maui manages to ward it off with a powerful attack from his hook, but other snakes appear and a chase across the sea begins. Moana does her best to steer the ship, while Maui turns into a shark and confronts the creatures. Despite their power, they are outnumbered and collide with the boat, causing Moan to fall into the sea. Maui enters the water to rescue him, but another snake is preparing to sink the ship. All hope seems lost, until the day finally dawns and the sunlight drives the monsters away. Maui then returns to the boat, carrying Moan, who is traumatized by almost being eliminated by the monsters. After this confrontation, the group heads to a nearby island to rest. But Moana feels guilty for risking her friend's life. Minutes later, Lodo takes Moana to a cave, and there they find Tatavesa's old boat, destroyed years ago by Nalu's storm. The young girl begins to doubt whether she will be able to reach Motufadu, and, seeing that she has brought her friends on a very risky mission, she isolates herself off the coast of the island. Shortly afterwards, Maui appears to comfort her and says that he too has been in the same situation as her, with no hope of doing the right thing, but he reminds her that on their adventure together, it was Moana's determination that helped him become a better person. So he decides to return the favor and starts training her for the challenge she will face on Motufadu Island. He also reveals his plan to raise the island with his power and keep it on the surface long enough for Moana to undo the magic that has separated the oceans. With her confidence restored thanks to Maui, the young woman goes to her companions and tries to motivate them to carry on with the mission. However, they prove that they will be with Moana until the end, and together they repair the boat, using parts from Tatavesa's old canoe. Moana is very happy about this, and so they all set off for Motufadu. However, as they had feared, the god Nalu reappears and unleashes all his fury in a huge storm, covered in tornadoes, lightning, and giant waves. Despite this frightening scenario,